Hey, everybody. Welcome to another session of MarriageWorks. And we are on episode 5, Staying Connected in Any Season. So, as a quick sanity check, if you could just do me a quick favor and put a +1 inside of the chat to let us know that you hear us clearly, and you can also see all of the New York Giants stuff in all of its glory. Because, yes, ladies and gentlemen, we will soon be in football season once again. So we are coordinating, if you will. All right. All right. So this is just a great time for us to be together. And again, we're talking about staying connected in any season. Every couple moves through different seasons. Some are full of joy and momentum, some are full of pressure and responsibility, and some feel quite uncertain or even painful. And so, at this moment in time, hey, how you doing? How you doing? Hopefully, you can see all of this, right? This stuff right here. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. But just we're just so glad to be with you on today. And again, my name is Brother Dr. Martin, and this is my lovely wife.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to tell everybody. I'm going to tell. Can I tell?
Smart.
Oh,
Good tonight. Best behavior.
no, she's been bad today,
Hello,
y'all.
hello
She
everyone.
has my brain in
We
knots
can
right
talk
now.
about that later on
Um,
in the session. Let's
staying
get
connected
started.
in
Every
every
season.
season. And so, um, very first point that I want to talk about is disconnecting versus adjusting to the actual season. So, there are four different seasons that are out there. There's summer, there's spring, and there's winter, and there's also fall. If I were to kind of give an analogy, is that oftentimes in the summertime, that's when things are hot. And, huh? Oh, okay, she said we're gonna talk about some stuff later. So, yeah, we're just all I know is that there's different seasons and things change in every season. You have to make adjustments for that. However, a healthy marriage is something that does not change, and it's one where people need to keep choosing to connect as those seasons actually change.
Amen. So today we want to help couples pause, name the season that they're in, have honest conversations, and invite God into the process. And leave with practical tools that you can actually use starting this week. So let's look at our opening scripture before we begin. And if you turn with us to Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 through 12, it reads as thus: Two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. But someone who falls alone is in real trouble. Likewise, two people lying close together can keep each other warm. But how can one be warm alone? A person standing alone can be attacked and defeated, but two can stand back to back and conquer. Three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. And so that is our opening scripture tonight. It comes from Ecclesiastes 4, verse 9 through 12. And before we go any further, somebody say demonstration.
Demonstration.
All right. So we're going to demonstrate the word for you. We're going to put the word in action per se. So I'm going to ask Pastor Martin to stand up cuz he loves to give demonstrations, but I want to give a demonstration tonight. So, up. All right. And so as we're still going through that scripture, Ecclesiastes 4, 9 through 12, it says, Two people are better off than one, for they can help each other succeed. If one person falls, I'm trust falling. You got me?
Yes.
If one person falls, the other can reach out and help. You saw how he reached out and helped me? But someone who falls alone is in real trouble because if I fall by myself, it's going to be hard for me to get up. Okay. And so verse 11 says, likewise, two people lying close together can keep each other warm. Hug me. Aww. But how can one be warm alone? Can you hug yourself? Are you warm? Oh, no, don't do that. We're not in the club, we're not in Cool Runnings. But how can one be warm alone? And then verse 12 says, the person standing alone can be attacked and defeated. Oh, no, you didn't even try to help yourself. But two stand back to back and conquer. You got to block, block. All right. So that is a scripture put in action. Ecclesiastes 4, verse 9 through 12. And then the end of that verse says, three are even better, for a triple braided cord is not easily broken. And so when you think about three, don't go anywhere yet. If you think about three, you think about this ring right here representing the third party in your marriage, and that represents God. And if you have all three together, it is not easily broken. You see that? It's not easily broken. You're not getting out of that. You're going to stay together forever. And that's what we want to do. We want to stay together forever. And I just want y'all to give a hand to our demonstration partner for this evening, Jaden Martin. Come on, Jaden. Just go on the camera and say hi real quick. You don't want to do it? Just say hi. Just peek your head in. Yes. They see you. There he is. And you saw a hand and a partial face. And so he was our assistant tonight. And I gave him this scenario, and he could not wait to do it. Why? Because he couldn't wait to throw things at his parents. So he got a lot of joy out of that, y'all. Probably a little bit too much, but thank you, Jaden, for helping us out. Thank you, Jeff. So that this scripture, once again, it reminds us that marriage was never meant to be carried alone. And I know it may have been a little bit comical for you, but we hope you understood that the demonstration was saying that when you're alone, then you leave yourself out there to be attacked, and you leave yourself basically wide open for different attacks and things like that. But if you are working together, then it's a lot harder for someone to come or anything to come against you. And then when you add God as the center, there is absolutely no way anyone can penetrate your marriage. All right, so we talk about strategies now. Uh, you can talk about a little bit more about the third strand. The third strand. Let's see. So, well, a lot of times when I think about three strands, I remember there were years ago I had the opportunity to braid my sister's hair and also my mom's hair. And so a lot of times, if you just have like two, just separate strands, then they could pop apart very easily. It's kind of like having my hand and then her putting her hand inside of that part. So this is just like a part of that, right? And then if we do double hands, that's like two cords. But then there's a third one, which is the one that ties around each one of those knots. And so a lot of times I do one strand, another strand, and then I pull the other one through another strand, and then I pull another one through. One strand, if you have enough tension, it's going to pop apart. Two strands, even though it's stronger, right? Then it'll endure a little bit more. But when it really goes through things that are very very intense, then it will also pop apart. But then if you have three strands, then that basically means that you have three levels of protection all the way around that specific rope. And so, from a biblical standpoint and also from a personable standpoint, what that means is that you have one man, you have one woman, and then you have God as the glue that ties all of it actually together. The relationship actually becomes stronger when both spouses stop trying to win against each other and start leaning on God together. Because if you remember in the previous episode, if you remember in the previous episode, is that better? Yes. Oh, see, he does this every single Wednesday night. I don't, so I have to he has to get me back in the swing of things. But what I was saying is, if you remember in the previous episode that we did, we talked about being on the same team, the same mission, and doing things together instead of working against each other. And that's what he was saying when he talks about the relationship becoming stronger, when we stop trying to fight against each other and compete against each other and actually start leaning on God to work through things together, even as it relates to the different seasons that we have in our life. And so now that we talked a little bit about the seasons, or he introduced the seasons, winter, spring, summer, and fall, we're going to talk about how to recognize what season your marriage may be in right at this moment. And so in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1, it says, "For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven." For everything there is a season, a time for every activity under heaven. And so what this verse is alluding to is that sometimes couples disconnect because they misread the season that they're in. So, for example, one spouse may think, um, we just have busy schedules. We get up, we go to work, we come home, we eat, we go to bed, rinse and repeat. We get up, we go to work, we come home, we eat, we go to bed. And so that is like the cycle over and over and over. And then you add children in the mix. We get the children ready. We come home, help them with their homework, and we go to bed. And it just goes on and on as a cycle. And so you have one party over here thinking that, okay, well, we just have busy lives. We have children now, so things progress that way. But then you have the other person over here thinking that we are drifting because we don't talk the way we used to. Before we went to bed, we used to have prayer time. Before we went to bed, we played games. I remember in our younger years, I could say that now. In our younger years, I remember when we had our first house back in Deltona. And one of the things that we used to do before we went to bed, we would have conversations and then we would play games. We would play like a word search or a puzzle or just something before we went to bed. And that's how we made sure that that we connected before we went to sleep and woke up the next morning. And so then as children started coming into the picture, as Pop was born, as Jaden was born, we didn't have time to do that as much because Pop had to we had to give them baths, we had to feed them, we had to make sure they had everything they needed. They sometimes they were up in the middle of the night, and things changed as we were going through different seasons in our lives. And so one could read that as, okay, we're drifting apart because we no longer connect before we go to bed. We're exhausted. So we just go to sleep and then we wake up and do the same thing. And so I'm saying that to say that that could be a season that you may be going through, and that could cause a disconnection. But what we want to do is we want to talk about those different seasons, and we also want to make sure that we're able to give you different strategies on how to deal with those different seasons that come into your life.
And so I'll give you an example of this. And this is the reason why, even if you're married, you still have to be very ready to have children or also to introduce other dynamics into your actual relationship. So for Lady Martin and I, we actually were together and married for 4 years prior to Andre being born because there was a lot of things that we wanted to do or we wanted to accomplish. We wanted to do some traveling. We wanted to also finish our master's degrees where we both went to school at the same time. And so I just had to stop to myself that, especially from seeing my mom and dad have been married for 53 years. And so I would remember certain instances where one of them will say, well, I wanted to go back to school, but I really wanted to take care of you all. And, it's very hard to kind of get back into the swing of things, especially if you have not been back to school in quite some time. And I understand that there's determination, but sometimes when you pass a certain phase, then you pass that specific phase. And so I thought to myself, well, when I get married, to my wife, I wanted to make sure that we were very strong as a couple first, so that when the kids do come, then we understood and we understood that this was a particular season, and I'll start off with winter, where things were going to be kind of cold as far as our interaction with one another. The summer was prior to that. It was hot boy and hot girl summer prior to the kids coming. But when the kids came, we had to put what we wanted um, into the back burner because when you have children, you have to be very selfless. You can't be selfish. If you're selfish and you have children that are on the scene, then that's where abuse and neglect can start taking place because it's all about your needs as opposed to theirs. And then, of course, if you don't communicate properly, then during those times of loneliness, especially for those for the men that are out there, um, especially during those very formative or those early years, the child is going to be, especially if you're an involved father, you're going to feel a little bit neglected or a bit isolated because the mama's breastfeeding, the baby is really, really trying to get close to mom. When the baby comes from out of the mother's womb, the doctors won't give the baby to dad. The doctors will tell dad, "Hey, look, it's a boy or it's a girl," or maybe cut the umbilical cord, but then they'll take the baby and put it on mother's chest. And then for the next 3 or so years or so, definitely for the very first 2 years, you are primarily as the protector and the provider, but more so from a distance. And then you're primarily there to assist, but you can't be so deeply involved because a lot of times there may be postpartum, there may be bouts of depression that may come as a result. So you have to be very, very understanding during that particular cold season because a lot of times a relationship can fracture if you don't understand that while things may be cold, things will thaw out over time. But that thawing out comes with dedication, communication, and then of course understanding, and also talking to other people that have joyfully gone through that season already.
Right. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the different seasons. And I'll start with spring. I'll start with spring. So when you think about spring, you think about new growth, you think about flourishing, you think about um, springing forward or moving forward. You think about new beginnings, that like everything is just fresh and new. And like you think about your brand new relationship,
The honeymoon
the
phase.
honeymoon phase, newlyweds. You think about it, even those that have gone through hard times, you think about rebuilding after you have survived that hard time. So your spring season could be upon you as well. And so when you think about the spring, that's pretty much the easy season because like Pastor said, that's the honeymoon season. That's when everything's fresh, everything's new, everything's exciting. And so what you want to do though, when you like when you're going through the spring season or going through that freshness or that newness, you want to be intentional about creating rhythms together. Be intentional about creating rhythms together. That means be intentional about the ebbs and the flow of your relationship. You're not even though the relationship is new and it's fresh and exciting, you're not going to be on 100 every single day. You have to dial it back sometimes. You have to have that balance and learn how to create that balance. You're learning each other. You're learning how each other work. You're learning how each other moves. You're learning how each other flows. You're reading the room. You're learning what makes a person happy, what makes a person sad, what makes a person upset. And do not. Okay, break. Time
When to
out.
shush,
Where is
and
the
also
flag on the play?
when to shush.
Okay, so my niece and nephew, they brought me this for my birthday. And for those that don't know, we watch a lot of cartoons. And there's this cartoon called Home. I think it's just called Home. Yeah. And so in the movie, there is a king of the kingdom, and he has what's called a shusher. And so I bought this shusher here tonight for when Pastor Martin gets out of line.
Flag on the play.
Now he's trying to use a
Flag on the
shusher
play.
on me.
Flag on the play. In other words, there's a season to talk and there's also a season to shush.
Ish.
Okay.
Anyway, like I was saying, because I'm gonna hold on to the shusher. All right. So the first one I forgot what I said. Now be intentional about creating new rhythms together. That's what I said. And then the second thing is you want to make sure to celebrate small wins and any signs of growth because when you're in the spring season, and you're growing together, then there's going to be things that change. Okay, so what made us upset yesterday may not make us upset today because we've learned a little bit more about each other. That's a sign of growth. So you want to celebrate that, and then you want to take that and you want to build upon that. And then you want to ask yourself, what are we learning about each other right now? When everything is new, everything is fresh, you're just getting to know each other, you're learning about each other to learn how you can work together, how you can build together, and how you can grow together. So you want to try something new together. Like you want to maybe want to do devotionals. You may want to do a date night routine. You may want to be spontaneous, like we were the other day. You may want to you may have a goal that you want to reach towards together, but all of those things are different strategies that you can use when you are in the spring, which is the season of growth. And I'm going to turn it over to Pastor Martin
May I
to talk
speak,
about
sire?
summer.
May I speak, sire?
Summer. Go ahead. Take the
Huh?
mic.
Mm-mm. I'm just gonna be right here with my toy right here.
You want to tell us about summertime?
Peas a buzz, kissable dandelion fuzz. Everything sounds better in summer. I love that from what's the name of that movie?
Frozen.
Frozen, Frozen. I love the snowman when he used to talk about the summer and everything gets warm and it's hot and
Mhm.
but it was uh but the funny thing about that, as humorous as it is, that he was a snowman, but he was also trying to thrive in the summertime. In other words, he was totally out of season. It was just totally off. And so summertime is one of joy and activity and momentum. It's a busy time. It's also a fruitful season. From a natural standpoint, we think about vacations, things that are filled with activity and the whole nine yards. Things are just, just wow. I like to play with the little toys that we have that are around here, right? But it's something that is definitely filled with joy. And so one of the things that you also want to caution when things are going really fast, like the new job, the new promotion, the kids doing well in school, is that when you have seasons of success, you also still need to pray and you need to make sure that you stay grounded so that you won't get swept away. Because sometimes people get stuck in seasons, and let me give you an example of this. It's it's almost like, when you're thriving and you're going on vacation, you're taking all of your photos and all of the stuff like that, right? um, then what ends up happening is that you start looking at other people who are vacationing, and you think that that is something that's supposed to be year round, right? But people like to trickle out their photos. People don't travel year round like that, right? Not if you're working and not if you have a job. But this is the main reason why you have to make sure that you protect yourself against the illusion of social media. Videos and clips are things that you can replay over and over again. That season of success and brightness and joyfulness is not permanent. Even for those of us that may be very devout in our faith, um, you may have that inward joy and that hope, but that is something that you have to develop over years and years of having a relationship with God. But you have to think about, okay, now that I'm in this particular phase or in this particular season, you want to protect time for each other so that busyness does not replace intimacy. Very important. She's in her organization, you're in your organization. She's in her ministry, you are in your ministry. She's doing well at your job, you doing well she's doing well at her job, you're doing well at your job. So things are growing very, very fast, but you can also lose yourself in the success or get lost in the sauce, as they would say, right? And this is where you start focusing more so on the growth of things outside of your relationship as opposed to you growing through that specific phase. Because you're supposed to be able to grow and synergize together. and that growth together will also prevent things such as envy and jealousy, even inside of your marriage. Are you trying to say, well, I'm one up on you, or well, I'm one up on you, or I feel like since I got promoted 5 times and you only got promoted once, that you're not quite on my level, and now I need to find somebody that's on my level. Very, very, very important that you don't get lost in the sauce. So make sure that you protect time for each other so that busyness does not replace intimacy. And that you also want to schedule connection before the calendar actually fills up. This is the reason why date nights are imperative. Even if you don't want to go, even if you go to the gym together, like right after this, we are going to, yes, 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 yes. We are going to go ahead and we're going to go to the gym. Now she may go ahead and throw a red flag. Go ahead and put a flag for that.
Connection.
Yes, that's time for connection because we need to be healthy
Yeah.
at that moment in time. And also, it is a time to enjoy the blessings without neglecting emotional check-in. How you feeling? I know that you got promoted at your job, but somebody might have threw a little bit of shade at you at that job. And so I want to make sure that I'm not just in tune into what's coming into the bank account because the bank account is looking great. I also want to make sure that you're not falling apart as times are during that time of success because sometimes people fall or crumble under the pressures of success or having the lights on or you neglecting your mental health. And then of course finally you want to practice gratitude together and also watch for burnout disguised as productivity. Men and brothers, and also ladies, make sure that you do not let your job, that one thing that you're doing, dominate everything. You may be working 900 hours, 400 hours, whatever it is. At the end of the day, the children and or your significant other is not going to care about how many hours that you work, right? Because you'll be in survival mode. You have to take a step back and you have to say, okay, outside of my paycheck, what else do you want from me? And also, what can I get from you? And how are we going to reciprocate together? Just because I am putting food on the table doesn't mean I'm not dying on the inside, right? We want to make sure that we stay balanced. Again, watch for burnout disguised as productivity. Summer can look healthy on the outside, but still create distance if couples are always active and rarely connected. We're always on the go, we're always happy. Things of that nature is great, but we also need to take a time out. It's almost like being exhausted after you come off a vacation. We used to do that back in the day. I get mangled. And my wife be like, why you get mangled? I was like, I'm glad we had a whole bunch of fun, but I'm tired. I'm tired. I wanted to do a break. So my wife did something so sweet just this past weekend, right? So we got a chance to go to the park, and she mangled me, y'all. She had me out there in the baking sun, but your boy held up pretty good. I was doing my squats and my deadlifts and stuff like that. I'm much I'm healthier and active. But by the time, and I did a round trip back to the attractions and back 2 days in a row, and it was Friday and I was like, all right, let's go ahead and get out this parking lot. Let's make our way home. But I was so hungry. I was thinking about food. It's like 11:30 at night. And I was like, man, I don't feel like making this trek. But I'm gonna go ahead and gut it out anyway. And then I was like, well, Lady Mark, can you just at least drive a little bit? So she sees the look on my face while we're in this 80 minute line at almost like 11 o'clock at night. But we were gonna tough it through, right? So I was like, okay, well, we're gonna tough it through, and I just enjoy spending time with her. So while she's in the line, she's actually looking up a room for us to get into. And I didn't know this because she likes to do surprises. I'm gonna tell you about this other surprise that she got me about today that has me a little bit flustered. But I'm gonna let her tell that story at that moment in time. She needs 14 flags in the play for playing with my emotions today. Uh-huh. Okay, well I just say it. So she did something so sweet. So she got a room because normally we just drive home no matter how tired we are, but she actually got a room right across from the attractions that we were at that particular evening. And when I walked to the room, I was like, look at this. This is so nice. We ain't have no drawers. We ain't had no t-shirts. We ain't had no bra. None of that stuff like that. We were just spontaneous, right? So we washed, but we were like, you know what? We don't have no clothes. So we're just going to wash up and get our rest. And in the morning, we're gonna go ahead and go to Walmart and get us some clothes before we head out to day number two of the mangling.
Number three, actually.
Day number three of the mangling. But at the end of all of that, we got a chance to connect. And one of the things I said repeatedly to her, as I kept on saying, even as we were in the middle of IHOP in the dead of night, I said I really
2 o'clock
enjoyed
in the
2 o'clock in the morning eating brisket. And waffle fries and all this other stuff like that in the morning. I looked at her and I said, "This was the moment," because it was very very busy. I really enjoyed spending time with you. I really love being with you because she saw that I was coming down from the mountain, but she also wanted me to rest, and I also wanted to get that intimate time with her, where we were talking about other things that were even outside of our relationship, things that's going on in organizations and whatnot that may not necessarily be too nice right now. We got a chance to pause and talk through those things. So we were spontaneous, we were productive, we got a lot of stuff done, a lot of activities, but that pause button was so so important. And I really value that. That was the thing that stuck out to me the most. But as always, there's a time for a transition, and this is where we talk about the fall.
All right. So in the fall, as Pastor said, that is the season of transition. And so in that season, some of the things that may be taking place are the children may be growing a little bit older. They are a little bit more self-sufficient to where, in their baby years or their toddler years, or even in their elementary years, we had to be very hands-on, but during the season of transition, they're a little bit more independent. They're 9, 10, teenagers now, or maybe even older. So that's going on in your life, and then, or may even be empty nesters. Um, but then you're going through different job changes. It may be a promotion. It may be a career change. Um, you may be moving to different locations. Okay, we started out in an apartment, now we're getting a house, now we're doing are moving to this, or moving on and doing different things. There may be a time period where you may be maybe caregiving for older elderly parents, so you're doing a little bit
Or
more for parents.
or there may be a phase, and heaven forbid this happens immediately, but even as Lady Martin and I move up in our years, we also know that our parents won't be here forever.
Mhm.
And so you're not prepared for it, but you know that it's going to happen to where one or you're going to go through phases in your marriage where you start seeing the one who took care of you for all of these years go on to glory, or they begin to pass away. And so the marriage has to also withstand those time periods of mourning and also grief in that transition.
Mhm. And so, as you're going through that season, the season of fall in your life, you want to make sure that you keep that communication open. You need to be able to talk about what you're going through, talk about how you're feeling, talk about the changes that are going on in your life, changes that may be going on in your body. Like, we use one of Pastor's examples. You may have had balloons, and now they may be deflated a little bit. So different things are happening in our bodies where we're not as fit as we were before. We may not look the same as we did before. We have a little bit more smile lines, a little bit more wrinkles and things like that. But you want to be able to be vulnerable with your spouse and be able to talk about how you're feeling, what's going on, if you have any frustration, if you're dealing with different things, that's definitely the time where you want to stay connected. um, it's a time where you're grieving what is ending while making room for what is beginning. Because
Grandkids.
that's what I was getting to. Because as you're going through that season, that's the season where your children are getting older, and some of them are going into adulthood. Some of them have significant others of themselves, and then that's when grandkids and things like that come into play. You want to also, though, you want to make sure that you revisit those expectations, those goals that you set when early on in your career or early on in your marriage, you want to make sure that you have talk about that. If have you been able to fulfill that? Have you not been able to reach that goal? If not, why? Do you still want to reach that goal, or is that something that you want to put on the back burner and try to do something else at this stage? But talk about those expectations, talk about responsibilities, talk about the routines that you have and that you have built. And then the final question you want to ask is, what needs to be adjusted in this season? So this is not the season to disconnect. This is not the season
Check
to
out.
fall apart. This is not the season to check out. It's the season to adjust how you were going throughout your marriage during the spring and the summer season.
Yes. What about our health? What about um, mental illness? What happens if you happen to be an adult and you didn't know that you may have been on the spectrum? Very, very important, right? When I was looking at one of my photos and I saw that I had a full head of hair. And then I'm looking in the mirror and I see that that hair is gone. All the juices and berries won't happen anymore. And I'm looking at my mustache and I see that there's more gray hairs that's popping out on my mustache. Now, my wife, what she did is, as I going through those phases, because I see her gray hairs coming through as well. What she did, talk about transition and making those adjustments, she would kiss my gray hairs, right? She would kiss my gray hairs because we're not going to be um, um, 22 and 23 when we met. We're not going to be that age forever. But what I do appreciate is the phases that we're going through. Or it takes me a little bit longer to get cranking out of bed nowadays. Before I would stand up in the bed. I still can stand up in the bed a little bit because she pops up like a great pumpkin. But your boy, just depending on what I did the last couple of days, it takes me a little bit longer to rev up the engine. Now, once I'm great,
Take about 2 or 3 naps
I
before
got
you
to
get
take
up.
about 2 or 3 naps before I get up. Especially if somebody's watching a lot of TV the night before. But even without that, even if we go to bed on time, I have to make those adjustments, but we appreciate each other's adjustments. And let me give you one piece of wisdom because many of you all may not be at that phase as of yet. While there are certain things that you can enjoy life at every single phase, but I want to caution you with this one particular trap that I do see when you start getting older. You don't need to try to recapture your youth.
Mm.
There is a reason why there's so many commercials out there for Blue Chew. I forgot what it is. The Viagra commercials were like rampant before. We used to hear them all the time on Star 94.5. You have erectile dysfunction. I'm preaching better than you looking at me, right? All of these things because they know that there's men that are out there that who didn't take care of themselves, didn't eat properly and all this other stuff like that, or they see their body changing, but they want to be as as they were when they were in their early 20s. And same thing for the women. Now the women have the drugs and all the different products that are out there, and there's an explosion in plastic surgery, all of these different types of things. But pause, everybody. Literally, pause. Let me go ahead and pull out this stick. Shush! There is a such thing as aging gracefully. If you work out and you lift weights, then you will be healthier longer. You don't have to worry about taking all of those pills unless it's like a real medical issue. You take your exercise and you do lift heavy, you eat properly, you talk things out. Don't try to manufacture your youth while you are older because you will run into some things that you have no business running into, or you'll create the illusion of youth. But in all reality, it's just your ego and it's your vanity. I am embracing my age. My wife is embracing her age. We still look young because we take care of ourselves and because God has blessed us tremendously. That's really the fountain of youth. The fountains of youth really is obedience to God and loving one another, right? But on top of that, it's also following God's word by taking care of your temple, making sure you get your walks in, even though we don't want to go to the gym. And I really don't either. I want to eat I want to eat something because Lady Martin had some brisket earlier and I still smell it in my nostrils.
Yesterday.
I still smell it today because she spoiled me this weekend. I loved every minute of it. And now we got to figure out what we're going to eat afterward. But the main point is that those phases are very important. There is a reason why God says, enjoy the life of your youth, right? There is a reason. I don't see myself as I close. I don't see myself, if heaven forbid something happens with Lady Martin, me going and trying to find somebody that's 20 years old. What for? What are we going to talk about? What do I, now that's just me, right? That's just me. I want to grow old with her and enjoy the phases that we're in. Her legs and knees are popping, so are mine. We can relate to each other. Okay.
I can still twerk though.
Oh my.
Hey, if I didn't have my sister, I had to do something. So anyway, as I conclude my part of the fall teaches
Let me
couples
put this on my head. That's what she's acting like right now.
So, fall teaches couples flexibility. A marriage stays strong when both spouses are willing to adapt instead of expecting the old rhythm to work in a new season. So, you can't do the same thing over and over and over again when you are going into that new season because it's not going to work. But hopefully, some of the strategies that we gave you will help when you do reach that season in your life.
Yes, it's a time for introspection. It's a time to evaluate things, the whole 9 yards. And of course, I start off this whole phases of seasons with winter, but I want to go into that a little bit deeper because it is a time of challenge, it's a time of quiet, and also rebuilding. And as loving relationship that Lady Martin have and I have gone through, we've gone through those rebuilding seasons. We've gone through times where there was a lot of tension in the relationship or we needed to have adjustment, go to counseling, right? Because just because you have a wonderful marriage doesn't mean that you don't need adjustments. Even the best situations need adjustments. And so that might again be a season of grief, conflict, dreaming about parents passing away, or noticing that the text messages from mom or dad are getting a little bit less, or somebody, a parent might be having dementia or Alzheimer's, and you see when you were growing up, you see this one particular person, but now that you are of age, you see this totally different person, and those thoughts start running through your mind on a regular basis. So when you start seeing those phases, don't get stuck there. Talk, talk it out, speak those things out on a regular basis.
Be there for each
Be
other.
there for each other. Do not isolate from each other. Make sure that you communicate, pray together, even if it's very briefly, and also seek wise support. Sometimes your spouse has the answer, other times the spouse may not have the answer. So you want to go to someone outside of that has experience, I'm going to say that again, that has experience, good experience. Yes, there are people who've been married for 50 years, but that's because they are codependent and one of them had both have been cheating the entire time, but they got rings on their fingers, right? No, you want to seek people who have had healthy long-term marriages that also have weathered the storm. Focus on small acts of love rather than big emotional breakthroughs. Everything is not going to be all dandelions and butterflies all the time. Sometimes it's going to be mundane, but you're going to be there for each other. And of course, making sure that you avoid making permanent decisions only on temporary pain. Am I going to, what is it going to be like through perimenopause or postpartum or times when my body may be changing? I don't have the same muscles that I did before, or it takes a little bit longer inside of the bedroom. So now you got to think about intimacy as opposed to what it was like when you're 18 and 19 years old. All of those things are going to happen in the cycle of life. And if you communicate with each other, it's going to let's just say it's not going to make it easy, but you'll understand a lot more. There are certain phases where people spike in divorces, and it's because they start going through this phase where they feel like they're growing apart from each other. No, you're supposed to grow together with each other and not let society start dictating to you how things are supposed to go. Remember, everybody, winter is not proof that marriage is dead. Some roots grow deeper in hidden seasons, and that is definitely the truth. Couples can survive winter by staying close, staying honest, and also staying anchored in God. Whether that's going through your midlife crisis or on the men's side or perimenopause or menopause on the woman's side, those times are times when you're supposed to take all of the credit and all of the love and all of the good times that you had for all of those years prior to, and you charge it to the account right now. My wife has excellent credit with me, and I hope that I have excellent credit with her as we go through these different phases as our bodies begin to slow. And so now that we went through this, like I guess like two and a half to 1 year ago, we went through this particular bump, right? That kind of culminated this past Christmas. But after we kind of recalibrated in that moment, we're like, okay, now we're in our second honeymoon phase. Now we can't do everything in our honeymoon phase just as fast as rapidly, but we are having, let's just say we're having a great time. See, I did good job. I wasn't ratchet this time. Next up, we have a game. So now that we have talked about how to recognize the seasons, let's play this quick game. And so Lady Martin is the gaming master. Sire, you now have the
Pass the baton.
I'm passing the monkey.
Yep. Okay. Okay, so let's play this quick game.
Monkey game.
It's not a monkey
It's
game,
not okay.
but so basically, what I'm gonna do is now that we talked about the four seasons, I'm gonna give you some scenarios, and once I give you the scenario, you just put which season that you think I'm describing, and just drop it in the chat. If you think it's winter, spring, summer, or fall, just drop it in the chat. Okay? All right. So question number one.
Question number one.
You feel like your marriage is growing again and you are excited about new habits, new goals, or a fresh start. What season is it? You want to give us the countdown?
Is it fall? Is it spring? Is it summer? Or is it winter? What is the countdown? What should I do with the countdown? Oh, I got a countdown. I'm gonna count to five, five, four, three, two, one. Uh-oh. Make noise with this thing.
I think Jada broke it when he threw it at us.
Oh, okay. This is supposed to be.
There we go. We
There
got
we
some
go.
answers. Spring.
Spring.
That
All
is
right.
correct. The answer is spring. I don't
Spring.
know if the monkey got y'all going or what, but all right. Question number two.
Question number two.
Life is busy, full, and moving fast, but you have to be careful not to let activity replace connection. What season is it?
What season is it?
I'm going to read that again. Life is busy, full, and moving fast, but you have to be careful not to let activity replace connection. What season am I?
Got 5 seconds. Five, four, three, two, one.
Summer! Very good.
Okay,
The
we use a
answer,
different toy this time.
the answer is summer.
Uh-oh.
Oh my goodness, he's having too much fun over here.
Yes.
Number three.
Number three. Shush.
Something in your life is changing, and you are learning how to adjust your expectations, roles, or routines. What season are you in? I'm going to read that one more time. Something in your life is changing, and you are learning how to adjust your expectations, roles, or routines. What season is it? Fall. That is correct. The answer is fall.
That's right. It's fall.
Very, very good. All right, I'm going to read one more. Question number 4. Things feel heavy, quiet, or difficult, and you need patience, prayer, and small acts of love to stay close. What season are you in? Things feel heavy, quiet, or difficult, and you need patience, prayer, and small acts of love to stay close. What season are you in?
What season are you
Winter. Very good. Very, very good. All right. So that was a quick little game just to see if make sure that you guys are still with us. And thank you so much for dropping your comments in the chat and your answers in the chat. Everyone gets a star. Good job. And we're going to move on very quickly because we're actually running out of time. So we're going to move on very quickly to our last two segments. And we have this segment that's coming up is talking about staying emotionally connected. And then we're going to wrap it up with staying spiritually connected. So staying emotionally connected and staying spiritually connected. So I'm going to talk a little bit about staying emotionally connected by reading our scripture that goes with that, and that is Ephesians chapter 4, verse 2 through 3. And it says, always be humble and gentle, be patient with each other, making allowance for each other's faults because of your love. Make every effort to keep yourselves united in the spirit, binding yourselves together with peace. And that is again Ephesians chapter 4, verse 2 through 3. And that with that passage of scripture, we're talking about being emotionally connected. And when the way that you can tell that you're emotionally connected is when couples feel that they are seen, when they are heard, and when they are valued. I'm going to say that again. You feel seen, you feel heard, and you are valued. And those are the ways that you emotionally connect with each other. And I'm going to pivot a little bit to one of the things that I was thinking about as we were studying this passage on how emotional connections form with your spouse, but also how emotional affairs can occur, whether it's at your job, um, out in public or wherever you may be, because that person that you are talking to or that you are dealing with most of the time on an everyday basis is feeling seen, they're feeling heard, and they're feeling valued. You're listening to each other, you're talking to each other every day. And then that's how emotional affairs actually start in the workplace because I'm not getting any attention at home. So I'm getting a lot of attention at work. And that's how you get the work husbands, the work wives. Somebody said that to me the other day. Oh, this is my work wife. And I was like, ooh, that is not something to joke about because the way that I was taught how that occurs is that means that y'all are emotionally connected and that should not be. You should only be emotionally connected with your spouse. And so again, emotional connection grows when you feel seen, when you feel heard, and when you feel valued. So you want to make sure that you keep each other keep stay that you want to make sure that you stay connected with each other, that you're always checking in with each other, that you're always making sure that that other person knows what's going on in your life and that you're paying attention. I'm gonna give another example and then I'm gonna give it to Pastor Martin because I know we're running out of time. So that's why I'm talking so fast. But another one example that I wanted to share with you all is that my husband,
Uh-oh.
he got his first pin today at his job. And so he's been working very, very a coin. Okay, his first coin from his job. Do you have it?
It is.
It's on the table.
You want
Okay.
me to get it?
So yeah, you can get it. So what this coin is, it's something that represents his innovation. He came up with a great idea at his job, and it's an idea that they're actually going to implement, and that's going to help a lot of people. And so he told me about it a couple of times, and when he told me about it on the phone, I shared in his excitement, even though I still don't know exactly what he does. But I know that it has something to do with computers, and I know that he's always very excited about it. And so he was talking to me about it, and he was very excited about his coin and everything. And so today he came home and he had his coin in his hand, and it says, "Stay curious, spark progress." And on the back it says, "Infrastructure Platform Innovation Program." And so that's something that his job gave him to. I know you can't see it up close, but this is a coin that his job gave him to recognize him for the ideas that he implemented. And so when he was sharing this with me, I stopped everything that I did. I paid attention, and although I didn't know exactly what he was about, I still made sure that he was seen, that he was heard, and that he felt valued. And that's how you stay emotionally connected. Do
Yes.
you want to have something to say to add to that?
No, I'm all just out.
You are just
Yes. And Lady Martin had my brain swimming earlier today. I won't tell you what it is. I'm gonna leave that to her because she's gonna use it as a story. But I will tell you this: don't let my wife's sweetness and her professional demeanor fool you. She is a top tier prankster. She is a top tier jokester and a prankster. And she knows that I be believing her when she be doing stuff because she's a great actress, especially when it comes to like telling stories or whatnot. But I love her with her crazy fine self. So yeah, that's pretty much it for right now from me. And you see that looking at that face, oh my goodness, if y'all only knew.
so I don't know how we got off topic,
Uh-uh.
but anyway, so if he doesn't have anything to say, I'll just conclude with this when it comes to emotional
Yeah, you can
connection.
have your sister.
I can have my sister back. Okay. So, just one more thing that I wanted to say about that, in all seriousness, is that sometimes we don't know how to connect emotionally because, growing up, maybe mom and daddy didn't talk to each other, or if they did, they were fighting, fussing,
Or
whatever,
you grew up in a single
or
parent household, you didn't see the intimacy at all.
yeah, I didn't see it at all, or everyone was silent in your household. So you may not know how to connect emotionally. And so some of the ways that you may want to start is just by asking questions. You can ask a question, hey, like Pastor always says, read the room. And you see that your spouse looks stressed or looks strained or something, you could just ask them, hey, is everything okay? You have something on your heart? You have something on your mind? You want to share something? Is everything okay at the job? Because it may not even be something in the house. It may be job stress. It may be financial pressure. It could be something in the house. It may be the children. It may be their future thinking and trying to figure something out. But the way that you emotionally connect is that you start those conversations. You let that person know that I see you. I see that something is going on. I remember oh gosh, one of the sisters in our ministry, we were talking about making tracks for a witnessing tool, and she was going to work on making tracks, and at the very front of that track it was going to say I see you, because you would be surprised at how many people are walking around and they feel unseen. Nobody knows who I am. Nobody cares who I am. Nobody cares what I am doing. Nobody cares about my life. And they just walk throughout the earth unseen. That is a very, very, very serious thing that we are dealing with. And what we want to make sure is that we're not experiencing that in our own homes. We want to make sure that we see each other through every phase, through every stage, through every season of our lives.
They're more than just a mother to your children. They are more than just a paycheck. They are more than just a protector in the home. They're more than just a person who sets up appointments and doctors' visits for you and the kids. They are more than that. And one other thing, as far as connecting is concerned, if you're one of those people who um, always do what they're told after you have been asked, what you need to work on is trying to initiate things. Get you a calendar and put yourself on the schedule to check on your significant other. Have a group of questions to put together. Again, if you're the type of person that has to be prompted, that's like the new buzzword right now for AI. You have to prompt it and then it gives you something. If you know as a person that you're the type of person that has to be kind of told or reminded, that's going to be draining to the other individual. Let me help you get ahead of that. Put some things on your calendar tonight and you ask those intimate questions. How you doing? How you feeling? How's the job going?
Check in.
Check in. And you can put it on different days of the calendar, and then you'll start getting used to it, and then it'll be a habit after a while. And then finally, you also want to make sure that you need to get a life. What do I mean by that? And it seems like it's kind of harsh, but it isn't. There is a person that is there that does not have the title of mother or father, brother or sister. They are just Andre and Nikitra. Not mama, not daughter, not first lady, Andre and Nikitra. Andre has to have time, a hobby, or something to do outside of the home that helps him to connect with who he is. Nikitra has to have something that's going on outside of the home, not work related, not just inside of the house, but something outside of the home that is wholesome, that allows for her to be herself and not have any of those titles because those titles can weigh you down as well, and then you'll feel lost, right? So make sure that you keep up with each other, but also make sure that you have time for yourself. Yeah.
All right. And then we are at our final segment, and
Final
it's
segment.
going to be about 5 minutes, and we're going to let you guys go. And that is staying spiritually connected because that is the most important part of your marriage is making sure that you stay spiritually connected. And so that's pastor scripture is coming from Romans chapter 12, verse 10 through 12. And it says, love each other with genuine affection and take delight in honoring each other. Never be lazy, but work hard and serve the Lord enthusiastically. Rejoice in our confident hope. Be patient in trouble and keep on praying. Keep on praying. That's how you stay spiritually connected. So, what that pastor scripture is basically talking about is teaching us how to stay connected in the midst of pressure, in the midst of struggle, in the midst of your situation. And you do that by making sure you keep up with your devotions, that you keep up with your prayer life. You're praying for each other, not just in church, but you're praying together at home. You're praying for each other outside of the home. You're always in prayer and devotion for each other. And also, you want to make sure that you practice patience. You have to have a lot of patience because, as he was saying earlier, he is his own individual. I am my own individual. These are two strong individuals that have learned to come together and connect with each other on a emotional level and connect with each other on a spiritual level. And so, some of the ways that you can do that is by um, forming different habits. One of the habits is by honoring one another. Matter of fact, when I was just showing about the coin that he had, I showed him honor because he did something that he was very proud of. But I'm gonna be his biggest cheerleader. And that's what you want to be. Anything that happens in your spouse's life, what no matter how small or how small it may be on the grand scheme of things, you want to be that person's biggest cheerleader. You want to celebrate their efforts, and you want to refuse to treat your spouse like an opponent. You're not going against each other. You're not trying to compete with each other. You're not trying to outdo each other, but you're working and you're building together. Everything I do helps the household or helps him better, makes him better. Everything he does makes me better. And then we celebrate together.
If you want a competitive, you want to channel that competitive nature that you have, how about this? How about you try to outdo the other person in how much you love them?
Mm, outlove them.
Outlove them. Compete. Make this a competition on how much that you can outlove the other person.
I like that.
You do that, you'll see the relationship go to another level. And you too can spontaneously go on a trip with no draws and get a room somewhere and enjoy the night. Wash, of course. Make sure you wash your rumpus, right? And you'll have so much fun together because you are seeing them. You want to make their life. You want them to never regret that they married you. This only reaffirms that the choice that I made
Was the
to
best decision of his life.
was the best decision of my life. I have no problem with saying that. Lady Martin was the best decision outside of um, choosing Jesus that I ever made in my life because it's the closest thing to heaven that you're going to get here on earth, and that is a wonderful, significant other or your husband or your wife. So thank you so much for bringing heaven on earth to me.
Oh, wow. You're welcome.
For the session.
Okay, okay, ladies and gents. So as we close, we're gonna close it out for tonight because again, we did go a little bit over time, and we thank you so much for hanging in there with us. But I want to close with this statement, and we're gonna let you go. And the statement is as follows: every season brings different pressures, but every season also brings an opportunity to grow. Always remember that. Staying connected is not about having a perfect marriage, but it's about choosing each other again and again and again and again with humility, with patience, with prayer, and with love. And that is all that we have for tonight. Did you have anything else?
No,
All right.
no.
So we just want to encourage you to make sure that you stay connected in any season that you may be going through. I will put a homework assignment in the group, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you again so much for joining us, and we wish you a wonderful evening. Good night.
Bye 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 bye. Uh oh, I lost the mouse, y'all.